Hi, this is Emerald Martinez, and my featured digital library is going to be the Corning Museum of Glass Rakow Research Library, focusing on their digital collections. So, a quick little bit of background about the Corning Museum of Glass. They are located in upstate New York. They are the largest collection of glass and education and knowledge about glass and glassworking in the world, basically. It is a not-for-profit museum that is dedicated specifically to the history, knowledge, and artwork of glass. They have about 300,000 visitors from around the world a year. There are over 50,000 pieces dating back over 3,500 years. They have pieces from ancient civilizations in almost every single continent. The reason why I picked this library, for a time I actually lived in upstate New York, and this was one of my favorite museums to visit. They have things for everybody of all ages, and it's really just a fascinating wealth of knowledge. I thought because there was just so much to catalog within this museum that it would be a really interesting digital library to explore, and I was absolutely correct. So to get to their digital library, you would come up here to Learning and Research and go over to the Rakow Research Library. So this is the page for the Rakow Research Library. It is both a physical and digital library. This library is available to anyone with internet, though it would appeal mostly to glass artists, researchers, and tourists. It is operated by museum curators and librarians who are in charge of acquiring items, cataloging them, displaying them, researching all of the above. The digital library exists alongside of the digital glass collection. So the permanent collection of the library is digitized for people to visit, and I will show that later on in the presentation, but we are mostly going to be focusing on the digital collections of the Rakow Research Library. The Rakow Research Library also is available for interlibrary loan. The material in the library is non-circulating, so in order to view it, you would have to view it digitally, make an appointment in person, or you would use interlibrary loan and they would lend it out to a partner library, and then you could view it in person at that library. So the digital library, to get to it, once you're here on the page for the Rakow Research Library, you would select on digital collections, and this is going to take you to the sort of meat and potatoes of the digital library. So within the digital library, we have several collections right here on the landing page. We have archives, artwork, books, glass industry and Corning Museum of Glass, popular topics, trade catalogs, and oral histories. So some things that I would like to highlight, if we come over here to books, it shows all the types of books that they have cataloged currently in their digital collections. I'm going to come over here to manuscripts, which are specifically unpublished texts. One thing that is pinned up here that I found very interesting, this is a Glazier's Notes on Traditional Blown Glass Windows. This book is dating from Germany, 1832, and when you open it up, you can see the metadata that is available for it, the title, creation date. There is not a creator for this one because they are not sure who wrote it. A glazier is somebody who works with glass. The very cool thing about this is if you hit view online, it will open up a new window where you can see the scanned pages of this handwritten journal from a German glazier. And if we navigate back to the digital collections, the next thing that I want to highlight is down in trade catalogs. So these are sales catalogs from over the years, showing the different production of glass that was available to purchase. As you can see, there's a huge variety. There's art, there's tableware, there's tools, paperweights, marbles, lighting, jewelry, cut glass, bottles, everything that you can imagine that can be made of glass. They have the trade catalogs for, dating back from so far. The other thing I wanted to highlight was oral histories. So this part of the library does not contain photos. It does actually contain video, film that they have accumulated. They are interviews with different people that work in the glass industry. Right up here at the top, you have recorded in 2015, the oral history of the Corning Museum of Glass. So this was also a really fascinating aspect of the library. And then to get into cataloging actual physical objects, if we come down to the Corning Museum of Glass, they curate about 100 pieces per year. I am going to scroll down to 2018, which is the most up-to-date they have at the moment. So these are the selected pieces that came from 2018 students. We see a lot of very cool objects. Each of these have metadata attached to them. I am trying to scroll to find a specific one that I found really interesting. Here it is. So this piece is called Hope. And for the metadata of each of these objects, we have the title and the creator, the creation date, and then also a description of what the material is used, how large it is in centimeters. It'll tell you what series it is from. And then it will also give additional notes that include the technique that was used to create this piece, as well as a couple other information such as use, subject, etc. This is also available to view online. So if we pull that up, we get a photograph that comes into better focus of this particular piece. This one I found very interesting just because of how intricate it is, which if we zoom up, you can see how fine this detail is, and this is all glass, even though it kind of looks like linen or paper. And over here on the side, it will also give you more information similar to what we had just seen on the catalog page for this piece. This is one piece that I also found very interesting if we want to take a look at that. This piece is a really, really large piece that they could not take a close-up picture to. And if we want to look at that, it is this entire wall is made of glass, and you can see that there is a person there to give you some idea of the scale. So even pieces as large as this are able to be cataloged in the digital library and available for us to see. There are several ways to search this collection. There is the simple search that you can use right here. So for example, if I search insect, because a lot of the work within the glass is inspired by nature, you're going to see a lot of flowers. Let's see here. So when I search insect, we see not only planning drawings that might have contributed to different things that they were designing for glass, but we can also see some really cool things like perfume bottles that are shaped like bugs. And if we zoom in on these pieces, we see that the insects have little stoppers here, and so the perfume would be held inside the bodies of the insects. So those are some of the cool things that you can find. And as you can see on this page, it lets you know that these are available to see at the research library. Another way to search is for new search up at the top. And if we make that same search, we are given more ways that we can narrow this down. You can narrow it down by material type, by creation date, author, creator, etc. There is also the option to do an advanced search. So if I were to search insect and we were just looking at those perfume bottles, so let me search perfume again. And there are, different filters that you can add to narrow down your search. I can find that same result of the insect-shaped glass perfume bottles and also where they are found. Reference services are offered through the Museum of Glass. If here they have the Ask a Librarian option, which will take you to the Ask a Glass question. So on this page, you can see popular questions that are asked to the librarians, and then also narrow it down to questions that are asked specifically about the library. Over here, there is a form that you can fill out if you have a very specific or detailed question that you want to send to the librarian. They also have available an email address, phone numbers. You can schedule a virtual consultation with the library for your more in-depth questions, or schedule an in-person research visit if you are in the vicinity to do so. And at the top of this page, there is also a link to the curatorial FAQs, which will bring you to the FAQs of the entire Corning Glass Museum. One thing I do wish this digital library had was a closer connection to its digitized glass collection. So if we come to the Corning Museum of Glass research library page, up here at Learning and Research, we can also go to Explore the Collections. So if we click on that, that is going to bring us to the page where we can browse all of the pieces that are on permanent display at the Corning Museum of Glass. So one way is that you can search, or we can come down here, and as you can see, this does link to the Raquel Research Library. And if we come down here, there's over, like I said, there's over 50,000 pieces in this museum, so it can be very hard to kind of narrow it down. So they have a couple places on where to start. I personally really enjoyed the highlights of the glass collection. This is going to let you know some highlights to the permanent collection that really showcase the art and history. This piece right here is the Fern Green Tower, so if we can click on that, that is also going to give us a lot of information similar to what we saw in the digital collections, where it tells us the size, the technique, the date, etc. I've actually seen this one in person. It is very cool. It is over 15 feet tall. Another cool piece in this collection, if I go to the next page, we also find a glass inlay of an Egyptian pharaoh. So this is an example of one of the pieces of glass that we find from ancient civilizations in the museum. And the last piece I want to highlight from that, I'm going to jump to the last page, is this Diana and Actaeon. I hope I said that correctly. If I did not, I apologize. So if we click on this, this is a portrait from the 1500s, which when you are just looking at this small image, it kind of just looks like it is painted or maybe embroidered. But when we expand it and we really start to zoom in on it, we see that this is actually entirely made from blown glass and pieced together. So extremely intricate work, and it just shows how much the pieces here vary. And you can also find things like a history of Coca-Cola bottles, perfume bottles, and even things like Pyrex. And now returning to the page of the glass collection, coming down here, here is the link to return to the Raquel Research Library. And we land back where we started, where you have the option to browse the library catalog as well as the digital collections. There is a huge amount of knowledge on this website, so many fascinating pieces from so much history. I really would suggest giving this a browse, and if you're ever in the upstate New York area, I can say by experience this is one of the coolest museums I have ever been to, and they just continue to grow. There's so much history, so much knowledge, and while you're there, you can actually watch a live glass blowing demonstration. Thank you so much for listening. Please let me know if you have any questions. I hope you enjoyed.